Hey y'all, Kelly, aka Broken Carnivore. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back to the channel. If you're thinking that the carnivore diet is expensive, I am here in Moberly, Missouri at the ALDI store, and I am going to do a grocery store haul, and I'm going to buy primarily the carnivore foods that are on the BBB&E diet, the beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And I am going to share that total cost with you versus what it cost to be on the standard diet if I was there like I was 5 years ago. When I get home, we're going to break that down versus both diets and why I feel that the carnivore diet is much more cheaper than it is on the standard diet. And this is my point of view. So let's go into the Aldi and let's go get the foods that we're going to need. I am back home from the store at Aldi, and I want to share the cost with you. So we're going to start with the eggs. I will prefer the pasture-raised eggs. That's the better quality egg. But showing you, the affordability, the carnivore diet, I went ahead and went with the regular cheaper eggs. And my goodness, trying to search to get a good dozen of eggs without having any eggs crack, that is fun. It's like it's fun. So I got 2 dozen. They're $2.71 a dozen. So if we break that down, and I got it written down here, and it says $2.71 a dozen. You take $2.71, you divide it by 12. That gets you 23 cents an egg. The bacon, I got the thick cut bacon, which is $4.29. I got 2 packs. That is $8.58 total. The eggs was $5.42 for both of them. So if we're going to break that down, the $4.29 divided by, there's 12 slices. Sometimes you might count, it might have one less, but generally it's 12. So $4.29 divided by 12, that gets you 36 cents a slice. I'm going to go with the Irish butter. It's the Aldi brand of Kerrygold. I usually like it, and this is where I will not go get the cheaper butter. So what I did is I get that Irish butter, and it's $3.69 per one brick of it, which I got 2 of them. It's $7.38. If we want to break that down, what the cost is per ounce, so you'll take $3.69 and you divide it by 8 ounces, and that'll give you 46 cents an ounce. That's pretty cheap. That is actually pretty cheap, and that's one thing I do not go skip on, is I want to make sure I get the good butter. Never get the oil blend. Get 100% butter, and then we're going to go down with the organic ground beef. Now, I went ahead and went with this because it is $4.99 a pound, or $4.99 for a package. It's a 1 pound package. I looked at the conventional beef, the regular beef, which is about 2 pounds and they only sell the 85%. So just add a little more fat, you'll be fine. And so I got 3 of them because 2 pounds is like over $13. I I paid less than a $4.99 a pound for this, and usually when I'll make this like loose meat, or I'll get where I can make a power bowl, something like that. So $4.99 a pound, that's pretty good for organic, grass fed. And then I am going down the chuck roast. I got chuck roast, and I got most of them are about 2.18 pounds. That's about $6.49 a pound. I divide this in half. I can make a couple meals out of that. So I got 2 of them. One was $14.67. The other one was $14.15. And I'll usually have chuck roast once a week, and it's pretty good. So the next thing I'm going with and I got the 75-25 ground beef patties, and they are $12.29. I believe it's a 12 pack of the patties, not positive. But so if you have one, like a couple of them, it's pretty cheap. You're not going to go through this. I did get some bonuses. If you look in the video, I did grab some bonuses. So sometimes you might want to mix it up a little bit. I primarily said I was going to get foods that are primarily on the B, 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 and E. I decided I was going to go ahead and get a couple bonuses. The first bonus is the chicken thighs, the boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I prefer to better eat the whole chicken and eat the skin on it, and just get that, because you want the fat and stuff, and the skin is really good, especially when it's crispy. But they didn't have that, or I decided to get this because you can actually take this and split this in different meals. I usually like to season it with Redmond salt, and then I'd like to wrap them with bacon to give it that extra fat. And it's like a chicken strip. It's very tender, very, very moist. The second bonus that I got, and those chicken thighs, I got them for $10.97 for the package. I can make 2 meals out of that. I usually have that once a week. And then the second bonus I got, and it's great to have a little, that crunch. When you eat potato chips or anything like that, or those ultra processed food, corn snacks, stuff like that, or tortilla chips, you always like that crunch. And so I got 2 bags of pork rinds at $1.89 a bag, which that's $3.78. That's a great little snack. It's a great little way to have on the road. It's great to have that crunch if you have, if you miss that, the chips or the crunch of those kind of snacks. And make sure you don't get the flavored, because you want to get the plain. You get the flavored, you're going to end up with all the seed oils, all the junk, all the chemicals and stuff. And that's what we want to try to avoid to have out of our body. The purpose of me being carnivore is I don't want to put something in my body that's not going to be good for me. I want to make sure that I'm leaning towards healthiness. That's why I'm on the carnivore diet. That's why I choose this path, because I want to heal. I don't want to go backwards. So if you have that stuff, you will go backwards, and you will have the inflammation. That's the primary goal for me, why I went on carnivore, besides to lose weight, was also to heal from chronic inflammation that I had in my body. So another thing that I got that, every now and then, I don't eat them all the time, but it's great to, make tortillas, for like tacos, or when you do power bowls and something, you can have something like you make tacos out of them. And sometimes I don't have the time, or I don't want to make the time to make the carnivore version of taco shells or the tortilla shells. Egg Life has a nice Egg Life has these wraps, and Aldi has it. You can get them at Hy-Vee. You can get them at certain stores around the country, but Aldi sells it. And get the yellow package. That's the one that has the least amount of carbs or zero carbs. I'm not positive. I have to look at the package, but look, because if there's some other ones that kind of got more flavorful, those have some carbs. I would recommend to stay with the ones with that without the carb. And a package of 6 is $4.99. And I don't eat all of them all the time, but it's great to change it up, because sometimes being simple carnivore can get a little bit boring, and this is where some people can fail and they get burnt out. That's why you ought to change it up. But also, it's also a way to learn to grow, and we're all not going to be the same. There's different versions of carnivore, and you do what works for you. Some may have to go so strict as the Lion's diet, which is ruminant animal meat, water, and salt, because to heal. I healed really good on a regular carnivore, or as they call dirty carnivore. I do seasoning every now and then. I do some sauces every now and then. I do drink coffee every morning. I don't drink a full pot like I used to. I just drink 2 cups a day. That's it. But it's what works for you will work best. Don't compare to other ones. So I want to compare this. If I was still doing the American Standard Diet, I'm going to compare why it's going to cost more. And this is through what I used to do on the American Standard Diet. So, yeah, I'll do eggs. I always love eggs, so I do eggs. But I always got to have biscuits. I always got to have toast. Yeah, that stuff is a lot cheaper. But I can't just moderate. I was a sugar addict. I have a bad addiction habit. I know. I used to smoke cigarettes. I used to chew tobacco like Copenhagen and Skull. And I know how bad it is. I know how addicting that carbs and sugar. I'll tell you the truth. I miss having sandwiches. I miss having bread. I miss having the Little Debbie's nutty bars or cakes and pies and sweets. But I'm not going back to it, because I don't want to deal with the chronic inflammation. I don't want to reverse everything that I had done a healing to go back to that. I know that as this goes, if I stayed on the American Standard Diet, yeah, ramen noodles at Aldi, a whole pack of 12, $4.05. Yeah, you divide that by 12, 34 cents. But I just couldn't just have one. I had to have at least 2 packs. And then I get hungry, and then I have this. Just like the nutty bars. I can't just have one. I end up eating the whole thing. And the next thing you know, here we go. I have chronic inflammation. I'll be taking ibuprofen. There's a lot of cost there. I have poor metabolic health when I'm eating the standard diet. It tanks. I don't have a high metabolic rate as some others. So mine is a lot lower. So here we go. I will gain rapid weight. My clothes will not fit. I'll have to get bigger clothes. I'll tell you the truth. Over 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, I was over 400 pounds at one time. I was in a size 50 pants. My waist was pretty much almost 54 to 58 inches around. Now I am fitting loosely in a 40 waist pants, and my waist is like 40, almost at 43 inches. It's close exactly at 43 inches. And I lost over 60, almost 70 pounds since I started carnivore. But I remember one time that I was over 500 pounds. I cannot just eat just a little bit, or I can't moderate. I eat a lot. I was the one at the family dinner having 2-3 plates plus dessert, and I crash. So if I continue that, my clothes, I'd have to have bigger clothes. I'd have to have more doctor's visits. I'm trying to eliminate where I don't go to the doctor unless I need to. I I'm going through a trial. I went from 5 milligrams when I started carnivore to 2.5 milligrams, and now I am slowly trying to get off the blood pressure medicine. Granted, it doesn't cost right now, but still, if I did, and then one case, if I developed diabetes, I know I was going to go towards that. There's the cost right there. I would go back to having sleep apnea. I was never diagnosed, but I would have to go get the CPAP machine. There's a cost there, cost of the sleep study. I'd have to visit my heart doctor every year. I would probably end up having a heart attack. I would have heart disease. I would start getting depressed, no telling where it goes as I gain weight. So if you want to look at the food, yes, some of the processed foods are a lot cheaper to buy. But if you look at it in the long range on this, it wasn't sustainable for me. I couldn't just have a few chips. I would end up eating the whole bag. I would have the whole box of nutty bars. I would have 2 or 3 sandwiches. I would have one of the things I used to drink, the Monster energy drinks, even though there was the low sugar or sugar free, zero sugar, they say, it's pulled back chemicals. I was drinking those 1 or 2 a day. So versus where I'm at today, yes, the carnivore diet for me is a lot cheaper. I can go and I don't have to go. I'm more sustainable. I do an intermittent fasting. I eat if I eat 2 meals, it's like a 16-8 or an 18-6 window, maybe a 20-4 window. Depends on when I get hungry. Sometimes I may just eat OMID. So the total cost of this food that I got was, even with the bonuses, $102.65. For me, I can eat that off it on mostly pretty much 2 weeks. 2 weeks worth of right there for me. Now, granted, I may have to go get eggs because I eat 4 to 6 eggs. I may have to go back and get more eggs and stuff like that. So even if I have to go back and get a couple, 3 more items, most of this will be sustainable for me for the whole week. For $102.65, that's pretty dog cheap to eat. And we're always was told breakfast is the most important meal. Well, to me, it doesn't matter. What breakfast stands for is break fast. So it doesn't matter what time of the day you break your fast. It could be morning, it could be afternoon, it could be the evening. So, I'm hoping that this video helps you all out. And, if you're, thinking about it and you're still doubting, oh, it's still expensive, this is one thing I recommend, and many of the carnivore people in the community recommends. Try it for 30 days. And if you're one like me where you have to have breakfast and then you have a snack and you have lunch and you have another snack and you have lunch and you eat 5 to 6 times a day. This is what I recommend. Start 30 days, get you a journal. Why? Write down what is your why? Why do you want to try to start carnivore? Why do you want to, what is the reasons why? Write those down. Write your starting weight down. Write, even if you think, I'm skeptical about this, but I'm going to give it a try. Write down that. Whatever it is, write it down. Say, hey, carnivore is expensive, but I'm going to give it a try for 30 days. Write that down. Write your measurements down. Start on carnivore. If you're doing 5-6 meals a day, I think most common people don't eat till after lunch or after it depends on who it is. Majority probably don't eat till that. But if you eat, 5 or 6 meals, go with the 3 meals. Eat breakfast, eat lunch, eat your dinner. And if you're like me, you got a work schedule, base it around your work schedule. Take the snacks out. Just eat 3 meals. And as it goes, go a few days. And if you notice in that, hey, well, maybe this carnivore, maybe there's a reason why it's maybe cheaper. And say, maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe I'll push back my break fast or breakfast at lunchtime and start that, and I'll have 2 meals. And sometimes you may get to where you are go into it and say, whoa, wait a minute, I'm noticing something's changing. Well, maybe I'll try one meal a day. And you might be surprised, but I'm not telling you what diet to eat. This is just my recommendations, and I'm just here to give this information out because I am no doctor, I'm no medical expert, I'm no nutritionist. I'm just an ordinary guy out here just sharing what works for me that could help someone out there that's going through the same struggles. Like always, let's be kind, let's be positive, let's all have a good attitude, and let's encourage and support one another. You'll have a great day. God bless. Enjoy the day.